listening to the Beercraft Home Brewing Podcast. Tune in every Wednesday night at 6:30 Pacific for a dose of beer and brewing banter with your hosts, Ben Holm and Andrew Ziegler.
So hop aboard for a little wit and wisdom in the Pacific Northwest, because it's always beer 30 on the Beercraft.
Welcome back to the Beercraft. I'm Ben. This is Andrew, and tonight we got a special guest. We got Erin Vanhee today, master herbalist. She's going to break it down on the botany of beer a little bit more for us tonight. She doesn't know what she's looking nervous right across the street right now, but that's okay. That's okay. We don't bite.
It's not bad. It's not live.
No, Erin, we
Almost.
thank you for coming in. We're excited to have you.
Thank you.
I'm most excited. I'm sure Andrew is too.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I'll set up the fucking microphone.
I've been looking forward.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. Thanks for coming in. We, with the brew shop, we have expanded into my wife's herbal apothecary, and so we're slowly taking over, and we want to make sure we're doing that justice, and that's why you're here today. But before we can talk about herbal goodness and what kind of botanical beverage concoctions you can make, there's something we really have to cover first. Andrew, I think you got something on standby, something for a little. You know what?
We already got it ready.
I know. I was making it cooler because it's that time.
Beer 30.
30. There you go. So good on the unison today. We're in sync. This is the ox, isn't it?
This is the pseudo ox.
The pseudo ox. Oh yeah. The ox junior.
Ox junior.
Ox junior. Yeah. Well, good news. It's still good. It's still good. Hey, how's the play going?
It's been good.
Still rehearsal.
Yeah.
When's opening night? You got a couple weeks on.
July 10th.
July 10th. That's
Coming up. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we have a Act 2 walkthrough tonight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you in Act 2?
Oh yeah, I'm in the whole thing.
I thought you only had those 3 lines.
No.
Oh, that's what you told me last week.
3 lines.
Yeah.
No, I have 2 songs. I sing in 2 songs, and I have a bunch of lines. Yeah.
You got it memorized?
No, hell no.
Oh, it's great. This is gonna be awesome. Yeah, just make it up as you go. That's what we're doing.
Well, no, you can't, because I get yelled at by the stage manager or the director. Hey, get that line right. Go out.
All right. Oh, you got your hair good. Good.
Oh yeah.
They can't see it on there. It's a podcast.
No.
It's a podcast, so we won't talk about that.
Oh yeah, all my hair's gone.
All right. Well,
I had to do that for my role.
We'll do it. We'll cut beer 30 a little bit short tonight because we have a very special guest.
Okay.
Since we're halfway through the beer, we're gonna take it right into our guest segment today because you've got something you have to do after recording today. So we're gonna respect that timeline today. That's all right. Erin, give me a rundown. Give me a brief, like your 30-second like elevator. Like when you meet someone, what do you tell them you do exactly? Like you teach a lot of stuff, but I mean, like, how do you pitch that?
How do I pitch that?
Yeah.
How do I? What? Okay, hang on.
So, like, what do you do?
What do I do?
Yeah. Do you have a certificate? Do you have a degree?
Don't get me started on that one. Okay, I'm going to tell you how what do I do? Okay, so I'm an herbalist, and I teach herbal medicine, but my goal really is to advance the rehabilitation of our native indigenous plants. So the way that I can do that is I can encourage people to go out and fall in love with the plants of the Northwest. I can integrate it into my clinical practice, and I can lead people into their own journey about herbal medicine with the goal of using bioregional plants. In the meantime, because I'm an upriver girl and I've been in this area for a very long time, grew up upriver, and I have land up there, I am doing some regeneration of 17 acres near the confluence of the Skagit and the Sauk River.
Oh, nice.
And it was all clear cut, and then it kind of rebirthed itself into alder, a whole alder grove with a bunch of older plants, like grandmother plants around. And then in the meantime, I've just been clearing little bit patches and integrating back in so that the whole diversity of the plants of the Northwest bringing it in.
Bringing all these
right back in there.
So I'm saying, okay, we're here. We can take care of our community now, but the next generation. So always look forward 7 generations, and that's what I'm doing.
Nice.
So that's kind of my jam on being an herbalist.
Herbalist, yeah.
Which is a little wonky, but that's
How'd your
my
journey?
jam.
How did your journey into this go?
Oh, because you know what? It really was. I didn't know that nobody else was doing herbalism as a kid. You know, I literally, we were harvesting nettles, eating dandelion greens. My mom was a single mom. We were hungry. Go outside, you know,
Go outside and find
pick some
something,
wild
yeah.
plants.
Pick lunch.
Yeah, go pick lunch.
Speaking of dandelions, the first time was last week. I've been growing this big dandelion right by my mailbox. I've been letting it go, and that thing was 2 feet tall. I mean, and 12 little bows, 12 flowers off it, and you know I see it come and go, and pretty soon it I think it spent all of its flower, and so I pulled it up and I got that root. That root was a foot long and
Nice.
huge down in there. Took it out, cleaned it up.
Did you roast it?
I fried it like fries. Oh my gosh, was it good?
Nice.
It was super good. I cut it up into little strips.
My wife has done some crazy stuff with some other roots, and they were not as tasty,
No?
I think, as that.
This was good. It had this very slight hint of like a horseradish. What is it? The other
peppery
radish,
bite, kinda?
horseradish or radish flavor. Yeah, that was cool. So it was neat. Yeah.
So, you know, like well versed on that. So you kind of like just grew up doing this. There's never not been a time you were paying attention to your backyard.
Right. So where we grew up, it was pretty. I mean, there was like nobody around. So yeah, essentially, I just grew up doing that, not only for food, but it was just like a natural rhythm. So I'm kind of like of a different century, I guess, but really not, because this is like the early, this is like the 60s. So we were just doing kind of like what people want to do now, really.
Right.
Like they all want to go out and learn about the foraging. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm
Self-sustaining.
literally, 60 years later, 65 years later, I'm like, oh, you guys want to pay me to learn about what I learned when I was 6? You know?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Right.
But
That's great,
hey,
yeah.
it's just a way to.
Not
So
the
yeah, you're
worst-
right. It's just been a long term, and that's why I feel like I have such a connection with the plants, and so that's why I like to do these kind of things, because even though I don't know a lot about brewing, I mean, beer really started with herbs, really, right? And you're still using herbs, right? So I feel like I can just wander around. If we did this podcast out in the woods, we would just be nibbling, right? We'd just be like, how about this? How about that?
What'll it do? What'll it do?
Yeah, it really wouldn't be about us knowing anything except what does it taste like? What does it feel like? How does that make me feel? How does that taste? How does that smell? Does it make me happy? Am I all of a sudden happier? Am I really sad? Well, then I don't want that in there, right? So it's
Depressant?
really
I found this natural depressant.
Well,
out
I remember when my wife took your course.
Yeah.
Many moons ago, that started her on this journey. One of your projects, she had to make something with something she'd learned about. And
Yes.
I think she picked kava. Though not an indigenous species, she was.
remember that.
And so I made a beer out of it.
Yes.
Yeah, and it wasn't bad. It was a pale ale, kava pale, supposed to be like a muscle relaxer. And I'll tell you, after 4 of them, I was so relaxed, so relaxed. I don't know.
I'm
if
usually relaxed after 4 beers.
I don't know if the kava got in there. It was the time we just had the powdered instead of the solid, the root. Bits.
Though, I actually do remember that, and because I have like a talent show, so the plant that they really love, they do this little presentation. She's like, oh, well, we're brew, we make beer, and I'm going to bring this brew in, and I'm like, oh, yeah, how is this going to work out? So she was telling us the process, and we all poured this wonderful beer, and I took a little sip of it, and I was like, this tastes great, but like you say, it's like a really great beer. Well, the thing about kava is if you take kava, like when I'm in Hawaii and I go to the kava bar and I have one kava, my tongue goes numb. And after a few sips of that beer, my tongue went numb. So the kava actually did extract into that beer.
There you go.
I don't remember much about
Some
that. Like
proof.
again, after
That's
4
why.
of them,
It's because of kava after so many. It's like, so yes, it worked, whatever. And I think she's like, oh, we just threw it in a bag and we threw it in there.
Oh, I remember. I got one of these like refillable tea bags. Like it's the same kind of material as a tea bag. It's just huge. Stuffed it full, and then I put that in like a 300 micron screen, or I don't know how many microns. It was a number, just to try to corral it because it was
Powdery?
powder. Yeah.
powder.
So it wouldn't dissolve?
Well, I didn't want it to. I didn't want it to taint the, get all
Yeah.
over the. I didn't want the beer to look muddy.
So when
How
you
about that? 'Cause
pulled
I've
it
seen
out-
some kava, and it's like that kind of looks like.
Did you pull a lot of it out? then?
Well, it corralled it. It was able to stay in there, and I can't recall if I fermented on it or I probably secondary with, or in the keg with the kava, and then yoinked it out and sent her up river with a couple glasses, so that was pretty good. Recently, I made a spruce tip beer,
Yeah.
and I would have brought it, but most of it died. I bumped the valve and spilled 3.5 gallons on the floor, and I maybe have a gallon left of that now, and that's a pretty sad face. But it was going to be amazing because I also used lemon balm.
Yeah,
Not lemon balm, excuse me, lemongrass
Lemongrass. Okay.
and spruce.
We're gonna need to bring you're gonna need to bring a beer in
I know.
because we talked about this online.
I know,
on the podcast.
I know. I forgot to. I didn't fill up the growler because I was supposed to bring the ... the legend, and I didn't. Because
We're gonna have to have another podcast to make up on beer consumption.
So, Erin, moving on. So brewers, we obsess about hops. We're a little much about it, actually. What are some other plants that deserve the same level of attention?
Okay, so let's back up a little bit, and you can kind of school me a little bit on that. So my brain doesn't really know that much about the brewing process, but what I'm assuming is that you use a grain of some sort of malt, something to create the entity, and then the hops are the flavoring that brings out the bitterness.
That's pretty close.
Kinda-
Yeah,
kinda-ish.
the barley malt, the naturally occurring
Yeah.
enzymes that fuel plant growth,
Okay.
alpha and beta amylase enzymes would normally convert the starch in a seed into a sprout that could then photosynthesize. So
Okay.
it's enough payload to do all that. So that mashing process or the malting process just turns on the enzymes, and then we kill the seed. So will not make a plant anymore. But if we get that,
Germinated. It's a
germinate,
germinated
essentially.
seed.
yeah, and then we cook it.
And then when you cook that, it's sweet. It turns into sugar. Uses other enzymes, turns into sugar, converts to sugar, and then
Maltose.
maltose.
Yeah.
And now we need to counteract that super sweet liquid with something.
I'm hearing you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We balance that with the bitterness of hops. We also like the flavor of hops. We love the aroma of hops. The hops are a preservative element, a preservative, to make the beer last longer. Has been the main crux. Like hops were like, oh shit, it's got these preservative qualities. That's cool. Oh, and it tastes good too. Fuck yeah.
It smells
Yeah.
great.
Prior to hops, there was a blend called Gruit,
Yes.
which was a super secret.
Well, there was
blend of
proprietary recipes. Everybody probably had their own recipe based on like what you do is terroir foraging. Wherever you were, you'd go out into the forest, forage for whatever herbs that you could counteract that sweetness with. Boom.
Yeah, except they didn't tell anybody what it was in it.
Oh no, because
Yeah, it was,
most of the time they probably didn't know it themselves.
That could be.
Had a bag of botanicals.
This is one of history's, like, it's more heavily guarded than the Colonel's 11 Herbs and Spices.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I've
you just
never
didn't
seen
let
a
it-
recipe of
Yeah,
Gruit.
No. I'm pretty sure some of the research I've done, I know I have fairly good authority that bog myrtle and mugwort would have been players in that blend.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about those guys?
I'm not familiar with the first one. With the mugwort, as an herbalist, because the common name mugwort, so mug obviously is a mug that you're drinking out of, and then wort, basically W-O-R-T, is basically, if you look in a dictionary, if you look at all the wordage, it means herb. It means medicinal herb. And to go further with that, some old text will say all plants that are worts are literally used in a beer or in some sort of capacity.
Well, we call an unfermented beer wort.
Yes. So if you were to hang out with me, again, I'm always encouraging us to go.
Yeah.
I would be walking with you, and it would be mugwort, but there would be St. John's wort. There would be, and we would find 5 or 6 plants that are all what? Worts. Yes. And so
And they're in the same area?
well,
usually?
right here, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I mean, it's just interesting that that is one of the common names over and over and over and over again, not just mugwort. So anyway, back to what the question
St. John.
was.
I never noticed like St. John's wort. Yeah, no, we
Yes.
never put that
It
together.
does.
There's a
St.
couple
John's
of
wort.
them.
There's a number of plants. There's a whole bunch of, and they're common names. So that would be like what the regular old community would call it, rather
Yeah,
than doing
yeah.
all the botanical names. But that essentially means that it's a medicinal plant, a wort,
And
and there's a lot of them.
you could make an argument that perhaps the Gruit blend of old would have used the same sort of stuff, and the wort tag
Yes.
could very much be like, we use this for beer. So history has a funny way of doing those things and being forgotten about as well, which I think is fascinating. Very cool. So, I mean, like if hops died out, like, and I need something to bitter my
Yeah.
sweet, I need soluble in sugar solution.
Yep.
What do you think I should think about?
Well, I think we should kind of hang out with the mugwort right now, because we do in the Northwest, we have a very, very good mugwort. A lot of brewers will, I mean, I'm assuming just because most herbalists, if you purchase mugwort, you're going to get Artemisia vulgaris, which is just a straight mugwort, which is great, but as you and I know, if you want really, really bitter, going up there with the hops, then you got to go with a different species. And in the Northwest, we have one that's a beech mugwort. It's an Artemisia, the same genus, but it's a Sextorphia. I know that's a long name. And it's down on Camano Island.
Oh, very cool.
And it's on the Skagit River, and it looks just like the other one. Actually, it's actually more pretty, very, very, very ornamental, and the fragrance and the taste on that is elevated, highly elevated. So that's going to give you it's going to be more sagey than the hops, but if you're trying to go,
Well, unless we're talking about a Golding hops, they can get kind of like herbal. Some of
I
the
grow
English
the
tradition,
Golden hops, yeah.
Well, there's Golden and then Golding, but some of those English noble varieties, they can get kind of herbally.
Yeah,
that,
so
like sage
anyway.
and grass kind of
Yeah,
flavors.
so the mugwort, there's actually a mugwort over in the Methow Valley, if you go over the pass, that's they actually call it the desert sage, and that's really super highly bitter. And then, this isn't a native plant, but the vervain, which is still, it's like, have you ever tasted that one?
no.
Oh, that's like,
What is it called?
Like
Vervain?
That one is almost unpalatable. So if you're trying to get super duper bitter, that's the one. And that one actually has a lot of folklore around it, around religious, sacred. It has a lot of sacred folklore around it, because remember, a lot of the beers, historically they were used for taste. They were used for, like you say, keeping things from going bad. But they were also used to elevate the psyche, to change the psyche.
So many of the earliest alcohols man ever created were sacramental first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something about drink this and see Jesus or something. I don't like it.
Yeah. So those bitter ones that we have, and then if you wanted to do the fruits, now there's some fruits too that are super bitter. Well, they're sour and bitter. Wild, that would be the wild ones, like the Salal and the Oregon grape. Those are all really, but I don't know if berries and such are
I'm not afraid to use anything.
Well,
Yeah.
they go against Reinheitsgebot.
Shut the hell. Nobody cares
Which
about
is
that. Nobody cares
the
about
purity
that.
law of 1516 coming from
It's
Germany.
so dumb. It's so.
Yeah,
It's a.
okay.
It's. I've seen better toilet paper production than that.
He just doesn't like it.
Well, I'm coming from, my beer that I love I like the IPAs. I like when I was in Maui the last time. I found this great Maui Brewing Company. I know I shouldn't drop. Well, we're not. We're not
we
live.
sponsor us,
them.
you know.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, okay.
We love,
drop the
we
hell
love
out
their
of
beer.
them, you know,
Yeah,
like-
so
We've
the
had
big-
their beer on here.
Yeah, I
The
know.
Big Swell is my favorite. When I was over there,
that's a good beer.
it's just the best. And I was like, okay, what do they got in here? You know, and they have those fruity undertones, and they have
like a pineapple blonde.
Pineapple.
Or something.
They got
the
pineapple
mango
one,
here,
mango,
a little bit,
yeah.
And I was thinking, you know, here because our clearly our climate is much different than Hawaii, so our growing season is different, and so we're not going to have the really big fruit that they have, but those little subtle wild berries. I was like, now if I was just walking around and filling up a jar to give to you to put into the
Something,
batch,
yeah.
you know, those would be what I would be looking for. Some of those bitter, sour, the berries, and then of course you've got your mugwort, you've got your vervain, you've got your, like you say, the spruce tips, but you know, then we have the native firs. We have a lot of conifers. We have a ton of conifers. And when I had a beer that I should have known because the label on it had like this or something, you know, like the crossbones, like, and I was like, well,
Three crosses.
That was all they said. It was I wanted something really bitter, and I would say they didn't have anything. Everything else was like, you know, Rainier or something, and so I was like, well, I'm gonna get this.
Mother's milk.
Yeah, and but this was I didn't read the directions anyway. So it had a real heavy pine, and so I was thinking, you know, if they would have just not used that much pine in there, because there's so many other conifers that bring it down a little bit, just bring down that level of tree
Intensity.
of tree
Yeah.
tree
Yeah.
intensity.
The Tannenbaum.
Yep, the Royal Tannenbaum.
Royal Tannenbaum.
Yep, Tannenbaum from
Is it Boundary?
no,
Colson.
Colson.
They actually dip a Christmas tree in their brew.
Okay,
in their
maybe
brew
that's
kettle.
what I had.
Yeah.
But it
Oh
was
no, that's a really good beer. That's my favorite seasonal beer.
It's pretty.
Really
It's
good.
pretty tasty. It's heavy on the pine. So I did the spruce beer that catastrophed, and maybe I don't have so much of it anymore. But I did have what I did have in my freezer was the previous year, and I'm pretty sure the guy who gave it to me is pretty sure it was the same plant. It was the same trees from his yard,
yeah.
his wife picked.
Yeah.
And so I had the two. 1 year apart spruce samples, and I got my face down in those, and I wasn't smelling necessarily the pine elements that day, but on brew day it was like the oldest one was very tropical and the newest one was very citrus forward. We did a little digging on the spruce was like the early anti-scurvy system. Recommended beverage of choice was a spruce beer,
yeah.
and that's, speaking of Hawaii, going all the way back to Captain Cook.
Him.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. I wish we had some more in there. What's your favorite herb? Period. Like, what's your what's your go-to? Your favorite? You don't even. You're looking at me like, oh God, how do you pick that one? I get it.
Well,
What's your favorite beer?
it would
The
be
cold and in my hand.
It
Yeah,
would
but
be
that-
like, I mean,
yeah.
what's your favorite herb? It would have to be like, what's my favorite herb to hang out with? What's my favorite herb to eat with? What's my
Sure,
favorite
sure.
herb in my cocktail? What's my favorite herb as a beer?
They
that
all
would
have
be.
they all have
Yeah.
their place.
Yeah, they all have their
What
place.
have you seen anything cool in beer? Like in your from your realm of the herbalism side of things, have you seen some cool stuff in beer?
Define cool.
Anything at this point, like it's not hops, so it must be something, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. In commerce, not, but only because I'm like a creature of habit, and I have like these certain ones that I want. If I'm gonna go get a beer, I basically, and I know you can edit this out, but like the Batch 13 IPA, I really like that one.
Yep.
But I think that's just a regular old hops beer. I don't
That's
really
Aslan?
see.
Is it Aslan? Batch.
Yeah, I think
Batch
it's
13,
a Bellingham.
yeah.
Batch 15.
Batch 13, and then there's, so they're all kind of always into that IPA, and I don't really seek out too much of them, but I will say, the more when I was kind of thinking about what plants would be of interest to you all, and a lot of some of the vinegars that we make, they're kind of like non. They're like they're like because they could go into beer, right?
Right.
Well,
So
vinegar just means sour wine.
Sour apple cider, yeah.
Yeah, and the people that make the kombuchas, so a lot of the plants are bringing out those flavors. So have I seen that many out there? No, but have I gone and hung out with my herb people?
Who did cool things? Yeah.
Yeah, some pretty cool things.
So I'm wondering if, maybe in the selection process, maybe we should focus on like alcohol soluble compounds in these herbs.
What are you looking for in
well,
an
we need
alcohol?
we need to find out how to extract the bitterness
Gotcha.
from the
If it's
from the
bitterness
material,
or
from the,
I might just
from the
want
plant material.
flavor today, and it's going to stand up in an
Like
alcohol
an
environment.
example is hops. A hop can go through 3 different transformations based on the time it is in heat, and it'll be a bittering. The longer it's in heat, the more bitter it gets. The first one is aromas. The second flavor is like if you heat it after 10 minutes, it'll release flavor compounds. Then those go away, and then it starts to bitter.
Yeah.
So what if I had some mugwort? Would I be using the leaves?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is there any information on how do I process that? Would I just make a bogwort tea, for instance, to get the bitter?
Right. So it would depend on. So if I'm going to go harvest mugwort, number one, I'm going to go at the right time of year. Right. So if I go, like I had students go early in the spring, and we were, touching and smelling and nibbling our way, around, and the mugwort smells completely different and tastes completely, and this is the wild one down there, completely different than it will later on, like when it gets into flower, past flower, and if it's a hot, sunny day. So that one, and then if you dry it, then of course you're going to get, and it's also very dry even to touch it. So it's already like right there, right? There's not a lot that you have to get rid of to make it happen.
Right?
But if you look at like a spruce and then you look at a mugwort, as far as alcohol solubility, the mugwort wins every day. I mean, the trees are harder, just by virtue of their constituent, their compounds. So the mugwort would be readily available, especially if you dried it, and you wouldn't even really have to dry it. But I'm just saying you have to really bring that out a lot, pretty heavy. And then another one that I thought, I was like, I know, one of my, when you say what's your favorite plant, I would say that yarrow is totally right up there in my favorite plant. And if y'all don't know, I almost brought some, but then I was afraid that we were going to get so caught up in nibbling on things that we weren't going to get anywhere, or it was going to take you to another level.
There could be a part 2,
Yeah, part 2, because it has
the herbal workshop.
Yeah, because if you don't know what yarrow is, I mean, yarrow has it is just
that's that weird like frondy looking like
it's like it has
wispy bits,
and then it has an umbel flower. And it is like it, and I just it has a very bitter taste, but yet it also has it has a lot of oils. It has a lot of aromatics. So even if you got so you'd get the bitterness, but it would be toned down.
Interesting. I mean, there are 5,000 compounds that have been identified in just the hop plant for beer, and we know about 300 of what they do. I mean, like, we know a small percentage of those. We're pretty sure some of these other things do things to our beer, but we don't even fucking know what that is. Now we're saying, hey, mugwort, and like go back to the original. Like, there's a lot of things going on botanically.
Yeah.
You mentioned oils, resins, plant material, like, boy howdy. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I feel like you have your bitters, but then you have your other layers, and so I mean those are a few of the plants that I know that are bitter. But I'm kind of more interested as a beer drinker. I like that bitterness, and I'm definitely not shy about the bitterness.
Sure.
But I also want those other flavors in there, and I feel like
like the citrus kind of.
Yeah, and
maybe
also
tropical.
just and the layer. I mean, we don't have the tropical so much, but we do have other plants that are going to kind of bring about a little bit more rounded flavor, in my opinion.
So, what would you combine some of these herbs to make? I mean, would you
Not
do
necessarily
a tea?
beer,
Right. Not a beer, but a tea. Would you make a tea? Would you make any kind of foods? So where you're combining certain of these herbs, certain amounts, to accomplish what you want your flavor to be.
Right.
I'm kind of getting at, like, what have you used for the foods that, or any teas that you've done? Mm-hmm. Like the yarrow and, excuse me, the yarrow and the mugwort together.
Yeah. Yeah, well, my medium, like yours is beer, is more of a beer, and then we have the other realm, and I mentioned vinegars, which is, like you say, that's kind of like going in the wine arena
for cooking.
Yeah, but it's for cooking, but it's also a beverage. So another flavor that I really like to combine in there is the elder flower, not necessarily elderberry. The elderberry is fine too, but it's more musky where the elder flower is a really nice one. It's almost vanilla-y. So when you're trying to do more of a toned down, rounded flavor, I use a lot of the elder flower, which is actually in bloom right now, and that would be the blue elder tree, not the red. That just has a better flavor. So you could do your yarrow, you could do your, the bitter flavors, but then add in some of those other tones, and that's what I do. And my way of doing that is probably similar to anyone who really uses a lot of wild plants, which is, like I mentioned earlier, just go out and find what are you preparing, know the flavors, and if you don't know them, make sure you know the plants so it's not poisonous. But we don't really have a lot of bad plants around here. And then layer those. So I use a lot of vinegars, and not necessarily a vinegar like, I'm just going to throw this on my vegetables. It can be put in stews, it can be put in dressings, it can be made into a mocktail, like the shrubs.
Right.
Yeah, so that whole thing. So you have your vinegar base, and then you have all
so your
those
vinegar is more like
flavors.
your extractive for these compounds.
And like you mentioned earlier, the way to be able to sustain the shelf life.
Right.
Yeah. So you have your vinegar, and then of course teas are always great, and infusions and decoctions, which is really the old way, which is layering flavors, layering different ways.
So Erin, you said decoction.
Yourself.
We use decoction as imagine a very different, potentially different way.
Try me.
When a brewer uses a decoction, they'll take their mash, they'll drain the liquid off of what is otherwise porridge, this ground barley.
They'll drain some off it.
Try to get most of the liquid off, and then they're going to boil the hell out of that porridge to create melanoidins, extra flavors, change, and then
Coloring.
also to color it, make flavors, and then also to raise the temperature of their mash. I believe it started with an era like we don't have instrumentation that can easily do that, but we can mathematically account.
I know how much I can put in to
raise the temperature. And so that's kind of where we're at in decoction. It's really about creating those Maillard reactions, those creating melanoidins with sugars and peptide amino acids smashing together and becoming cool. The same stuff in steak and toast. So what do you use decoction for? How does that work for you?
Kind of the same idea. So a decoction to me it can be just one plant, which is a simple. So if I have something that I really focus on, or I want to make sure that that's actually working, when you combine a lot of stuff, you're not quite sure which one's working and which one's not, right? So, just as a medicine maker, that would be something to think about. But when I'm making one for what we were describing, like, how do you do that, Erin? Well, that would be kind of similar. Like I might have a handful of this, a handful of that, and literally the whole idea is to, how did you put it? Boil the hell out of it.
Boil the hell out of it, yeah.
And the whole idea is to bring it up to a boil and allow it to just kind of do its dance in the water.
Okay.
And
so
do it, and
good,
and so never trust an herbalist who doesn't have a decoction going, and never trust an herbalist who's not a good cook. So you really, you have all of this going, and it takes a really long time for some plants, especially those harder parts of the plant, as because you're using plants. It takes a long time to get all of those flavors out. And if you're working in a medical capacity with the herbs and a medicinal factor, some of those constituents take time to take out. So you're looking at flavor, yes, but you're also looking at, I'm not going to kill some of these plants. I lift them, I take their lives,
right?
And I have to make sure that I get every little ounce of every little bit of that out of that plant. So yeah, it's about allowing the plant to not boil the hell out of it necessarily, but bring it up to a boiling and allow it to simmer and move around. And the more it moves, the more it extracts into the water. And bada bing, bada boom, you're done.
Cool.
You've got a good decoction.
Let's see. So your focus is definitely on the local scene. What, like, in this area, native to this area?
Yeah.
Other than the mugwort, what else would you be recommending for beer, for interesting flavor, for interesting properties, even for medicinal beers? I'm not opposed to drinking more beer for medicine. I'm just saying.
That's why I drink beer, I thought.
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned the yarrow. I really think that one you would like.
I think I've seen yarrow being used before.
Yeah, it just makes sense. So I'm trying to think of plants. So I think you've got the whole bitter down. I mean, you mentioned burdock earlier.
Yeah.
And I feel like burdock is so great. It's awfully starchy though. And as an herbalist, well, we don't have to go down that rabbit hole, but there's other ones that are more bitter than that. I mean, even like you say, the dandelion that you were using is one. But so we have, I mentioned the elder, I mentioned the yarrow, I mentioned the mugwort, the salal berries, the Oregon grape berries, and I'm thinking like roses, wild roses, even the rose petals, and if you, because they are fairly watery, if you dried them, that would kind of maximize that, and a little tiny hint of rose in some stuff. Like if you're making even a decoction, you would always add that like at the very end. Like you wouldn't boil the hell out of the rose.
Right.
You would add that at the end just to be able to capture those aromatics.
Yeah.
Like a
So-
flame out
We do
addition
it
for
secondary.
hops,
Yeah, so so like they can't quite put their finger on it,
Yep.
but it's there, you know.
I had a rose-based tequila the last time down there. It was like, this is really fucking good.
Was it the red one? The pink milk?
It was not the pink. Yeah,
No,
not the pink bottle. I
milk.
bought that one.
It was like pink. I mean, the tequila
It was
like
finished
like
on
Pepto.
wild rose. Like, they had wild roses in the boiler in front of the condenser, so all the vapors had to go through rose, and it was noticeable, like in the distillate.
Yeah.
And it was really good. I couldn't have done a whole bottle of it, so I didn't buy it, but it was really good.
One shot.
Yeah. So then you have your roses, and then in the fall you have your hips, your rose hips. So
Used to eat those, yeah.
Hips seem like they would almost be, something you could use more liberally because they're not going to have that sweetness. I mean, they're a little bit sweeter, but they have, have you ever eaten rose hips? Well, they're pretty
Yes.
tangy,
Yeah.
and they
Citrusy.
they're citrusy, and they're good for you, right?
Yeah.
So you have your citrusy, you have the color is beautiful, and you can still kind of have the spirit of the rose in there, So that would be another plant. Like if I was all of a sudden going to start brewing, that would definitely be one.
A friend of
that I
mine,
would-
Jen, she uses it for her cider.
Yes. Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, it's so.
She adds other things to it too. Doctors it up really nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So if I'm in the garden and I want to brew, if I want a garden patch for beer, I'm gonna put yarrow in there. I'm gonna put some. Can I transplant some of this Camino Island mugwort up here?
Vervain, the vervain.
Yeah, vervain. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be
Now,
so bitter.
okay,
It's gonna be
so, like,
too
we-
bitter.
We've done bitters, but
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned burdock, because like that was one of the early things my wife, did a tincture of burdock and fed me, and I was like, boy, I don't know what the hell you just put in my mouth, but it's terrible. It's terribly bitter. You mentioned it's kind of starchy, like so it's the root.
Yes.
In the preparation, are you cooking that root? Like taking it, like to break it down in terms of its. Gosh, in beer, we oftentimes we have to take a starch through its gel phase. We have to cook it north of 170 degrees, and that sort of changes its structure, so that amylase enzyme can break it down further. So stuff like corn and potato, these starchy, really, or corn's a weird one, but
Yeah.
it's not, that starch is not natively reactive to amylase. It won't do anything.
right.
We have to cook it first.
We have to add amylase to it.
But first, we have to cook it in order for amylase to be able to do anything.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if this burdock, like,
Now, burdock looks like purple thistle almost.
Yeah, it's really stunning, actually.
Is it spiky leaves?
No,
Okay.
they actually, and you said you're an actor?
Yes.
Yes, my daughter's an actor, so
Okay.
I'm all about I have all these actors in my life. And so the mugwort, not the mugwort, but the burdock used to be used as a mask because the leaf is huge. And so they would use it, back in the day and create these to be able to use
See
them
through
as
it.
masks.
That's
So
cool.
it's not spiny at all. It's actually beautiful and soft and gray. And it's a biennial, so the second year you get the flowers. So you'd be harvesting it after the first year in the fall or in the spring of the second year. But yes, you can actually tone down some of that starchiness with the heat processing, but you can also make a cold process if you wanted to hold on to a little bit more of that starch. But my favorite way of doing it is I make these amazing burdock pickles, which I know that has nothing to do with
it's fermentation.
it's really good. So some of that can be toned down, so that's that bitterness. But I was just thinking, when you said, we're all about the hops, I was kind of trying to be I was going to be the overachiever and find you some really, really bitter ones. And those are the ones that I mentioned. And of course, there was a couple other ones, but we don't want to use those.
Speaking of things we don't want to use, is there some plants we should absolutely not throw into our beer?
For why?
Like, that's the question, right? Like, for reasons we shouldn't do things. Like, what?
Like-
they're like
Poisonous plants?
not
Yeah.
Poisonous
or
berries that I shouldn't get?
reactive, Yeah.
Yeah, for the person who is looking to go into the going out and foraging wild plants, number one, know your identification. There's not a lot of poisonous plants in our region necessarily, and the only one that I can think of that someone would be silly enough to get would be like the poison hemlock. And that, of course, don't put in your beer because then you will be in the ER, so don't do that.
hear
And
that?
that's
No
the
hemlock.
one that's on the side of the road and has beautiful umbel flowers. And so some people think it's a different plant because there's a lot of plants that are edible
got
that are in the
lookalikes.
umbel. Yeah. The only one that I can think of off the top of my head that is that might be somebody, if they were going to know about a plant that was super bitter and trying to match on that, would be like the wild lettuce, and the wild lettuce is very, very bitter, and it has a wonderful, highly bitter flavor. But it's also a sedative, a pretty heavy-duty sedative. So I wouldn't necessarily want to make a beer out of that.
Yeah.
Right.
But the flavor is pretty high.
Yeah, I've heard about the hemlock. That like if your wife's putting hemlock in your stew, you got a bad day, buddy. The other one I think I remember Anna talking about is digitalis.
But see, most people wouldn't do that because, well, let's put it this way: most people, if they were tasting their herbs, their plants, would not. Well, number one, if they had digitalis, they would be back in the ER.
Yeah.
But if they're looking for, is that what you do? Do you go around and I'm the crazy lady in the neighborhood that walks around smelling trees and eating, is
Eating
this a good one or is this
stuff,
a bad one? Do you all do that, or do you just trust that the plant's going to trust that it's going to be good?
No, of course we'd have eaten it. Yeah, we'd have eaten it first. Yeah.
So digitalis does not have
It just
a bitter
doesn't taste
flavor.
great. You just
Yeah.
want
That's
to.
the foxglove?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
the
the
foxglove.
yeah.
There's plenty of
They're
there's-
everywhere.
Yeah, there's plants that are not necessarily good for you, but I was just thinking like targeting bitter plants. And really the moral of the story is if a plant is an edible plant, it's going to taste edible. If a plant is a poisonous plant or something that's going to be really strongly medicinal, it's going to taste that way because the plants have a way of communicating with us, right? Because we're all, we're the same. We're kindred with the plants. And so they don't want to hurt us. They're excited to see us. And so when you go around tasting that dandelion that you were eating, you're like, oh, this is really great. And you're out there with that spruce. You're like, oh, you get in a good mood. You're outside and then you make your beer and you remember that beautiful day. So most plants that are not good for you are not going to taste good. So as long as you're tasting them with hopefully the proper identification and they taste like they would be good in a beer, guess what?
Make a beer.
Probably good
Time
on
to
a
make a
beer.
beer. Well, on that note, I think we will call it an evening. Erin, I want to thank you again.
We have the
You're
lovely
welcome.
train sending us on our way.
Yes.
I hope you had as much fun as we
It was
did.
a blast. It
Thank
was
you,
a
Erin.
blast.
Awesome.
Yeah. I would like to do an herbal workshop of sorts. I mean, let's pick some of this stuff and taste some things.
You have
around.
You have some of those. You do a lot of those workshops, Erin. What do you got going on?
I do a lot of workshops. Well, my favorite is the one I've been doing for 30 years. I do an 8-month program where I just train people in herbal medicine, bioregional plants, and then I have some day classes at the Wild Valley Wellness Center there. I've been doing that for a number of years, and those are really fun. So, and those are indoor classes, and they don't start up until fall.
Okay.
Where can we find you?
Well, funny you should ask. My website is just my name, so it's www.erinvanhee.com.
Spell it, please.
Oh, ERIN, as in victory, ANHEE.com. And I practice at the Wild Valley Wellness Center right there in Burlington.
Well, we'll be
on
sure to
Fairhaven.
put that in the show notes. Very good. Well, Erin, thank you so much. That's going to be a wrap for the Beercraft Homebrewing Podcast.
What a good one.
That is a good one. I have so many more questions, I think. I look forward to talking to you again soon, Erin. But thank you all for joining us this evening. It's going to be
Thank you, everyone.
Get out of here. So, peace out. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Good night.